What's up, y'all? It's Mr. Loria, still on the mend. I keep yelling at my hip to heal instead of yelling at you all. I'll be back, though. What we're going to do in this one is we're going to explore Martin Luther King's letter from Birmingham Jail. It's beautiful. It's poetic. It's super powerful. One of the best things written. I wish I was there to explore it. But in this lecture series, we'll look at the context and then we'll look at the message. I think you should probably understand some of the overarching context of this speech before you dive into it. And explore it, which is, again, it's an awesome, amazing, beautiful, beautiful piece of writing. So let's begin. Here we go. Martin Luther King is arrested April 16th, 1960. I'm going to just go down here. 1963. And he is arrested on Good Friday, which Martin Luther King's job was, pop quiz, Reverend Martin Luther King was a Christian minister. And so in Christianity, to be arrested deliberately on Good Friday, Jesus was arrested on Good Friday, Holy Thursday. Anyway, the timing is very intentional. Martin Luther King goes to jail. When he's in jail, this is the picture on the left of when he was kind of booked, and then on the right of his time behind bars. He spent a few days in jail. While he was there, he wrote this letter, and his lawyer actually smuggled it out. The lawyer who came to talk to King, King kind of slipped in the note. Lawyer goes out, and they were able to publish it and share this incredibly powerful and important message with the world. Let's think about this quote too, is that we stand upon the shoulders of giants. And when we look at Martin Luther King and the brave men and women who have helped shape history and helped kind of push the needle of progress, or actually I'll just quote King, the moral arc of the universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Those who have helped bend it towards justice, we owe them a lot. So again, brilliant speech, beautiful speech, and just want to acknowledge for a moment the legacy that we inherit because of him. Here is a vastly simplified, it's kind of embarrassing, but it's just kind of get this timeline of civil rights in the United States kind of in your brain, especially these three parts. We start out with 1700s, okay? And the main topic or the main concern is independence from England. And some of the people and peeps that are important here, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, countless others. Slavery is acknowledged at this point. You have a disagreement between the North and the South. And the Constitution is referred to as that peculiar institution. They don't say slavery, they say it's a peculiar institution, this thing that happens. But that's, and there were obviously very powerful Black leaders at the time, but the African-American struggle kind of becomes in the forefront right here in the 1800s. And the main topic here is slavery. So who are some of the most important people in this time? Well, obviously Abraham Lincoln, you've got Frederick Douglass, you got Booker T. Washington. Maybe these names are a little bit more familiar. Yeah. Harriet Tubman. Think of this as chapter 1, slavery. Chapter 2, and in 1954, Brown versus Board of Education kicks off into the golden era of civil rights in this country. The main topics, it's not slavery anymore. It's voting, it's segregation, and it's education and other things too, right? Whether or not we should fight in Vietnam, et cetera, as we get a little further. Who are some of the main people here? Well, you've got people like Martin Luther King, Reverend Martin Luther King, who we'll look at just in a moment. You got Rosa Parks, you got Malcolm X, and countless others. Here's one timeline. I'll share these links. This is a better timeline. This is from CVS, or CVS? PBS. I can't read it right. Don't tell anyone. Anyway, you can see here they kind of break it down, board versus education, Birmingham church bombing, right? Later in the year, Martin Luther King would deliver I Have a Dream. So this is before he does I Have a Dream, but he's very well known at the time. You got Malcolm X assassinated. I'm not really sure why they cut this timeline off at 1967, because in 1968, Martin Luther King will be assassinated as well, kind of closing this era. Big shout out to Melvin Ely, by the way, William and Mary, African-American history class, great class, very important topic. I'll share that link so you can get a little bit deeper into it. About the text itself, let me move this. I put it into a Hemingway editor, which is a pretty good way of analyzing writing. Grade level, 11. Okay, estimated reading time. This is about 23 minutes. Maybe it'll take you 23 minutes. Maybe it'll take you an hour to read. You're going to want to read this multiple times. I have. It's beautiful. Okay, so it's about 6,000 words. It's awesome. And it's not too hard. Grade 11. So don't do the baby spoon-fed BS version of here are 3 paragraphs. Let's look at it. Read the damn writing. Okay, it's incredible. It's brilliant. It's super good. So check it out. Context. A couple of things that he explains in the beginning. One is this idea of outside agitators. You're like, what the heck does that mean? An outside agitator? Well, that's a strange phrase. Well, at the time, again, kind of this 1960s civil rights movement. Here they are, a big march. You can see Dr. King here. One of the frequent criticisms, there's kind of 2 main ones, and he addresses them right away, is you're not from here. You're from Atlanta. This is Birmingham. Our blacks are happy down here in Birmingham, they would say. And he's like, nah, right? And he kind of makes the point, look, this is the United States. We're all of us in here together. This is where this speech or letter is where injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. Look at that. Beautiful, man. So he addresses that, kind of saying it doesn't matter that I'm from somewhere else, because King will get blamed for that. Hey, look, when you show up, all this, you agitate, you annoy, you kind of anger, and you're not from here, right? So this is one of the criticisms that was kind of floating in the air at the time that people would frequently kind of go against. Another one, there's kind of 3 that he addresses right off the bat. Another one is he had a specific strategy of how he operated. We mentioned, by the way, in that kind of simplified version of civil rights, the battle for independence, to gain independence, the battle to end slavery, were both wars. Lots of people died fighting each other. Dudes lining up with guns, shooting each other, killing each other to prove their point. Violence is typically the most common strategy in human history in terms of affecting change. But you could say the pen is mightier than the sword, ideas influence as well, but a lot of people have bled. Nonviolence is another strategy. It's a counter strategy. It is saying you don't have to use violence in order to achieve something. You know who that is? Pop quiz. Mahatma Gandhi, right? He was from India, and he very successfully led a rebellion in India to expel the British in a peaceful manner. Martin Luther King was a student of, not student, but he respected the strategy. He said, we can use this strategy in the United States. We're going to protest. We're going to protest peacefully. This is one of the reasons, by the way, that they'd show up in suits and all that and say, look, we're going to carry ourselves with dignity. We're not going to hit back. We're not going to fight back. So you'll see him kind of address that right up front. One of the criticisms in this nonviolence strategy, check this out. How old do they look? What do you think? Not very old, right? Is that children could participate. They would organize strikes from school. They would say, let's go, let's get the kids arrested, because one of the main points here in your nonviolence, sure, have the police arrest everyone. Eventually there's no room in the jail, right? You just can't, jails are overwhelmed. What are you going to do if you're just enforcing, if the state is just enforcing, like, using their own kind of tactic of violence to put people away? So, they would use kids, old people, anyone was welcome to participate, because all you had to do was, not going to say all you had to do, can you withstand a hit without hitting back? Can you conduct yourself with dignity? Do you have the ability to kind of maintain and be calm in the face of all these things? And we're not showing images in this one of people getting, attacked by police dogs and hit, but it was a spiritual mission. Again, Martin Luther King is a Christian minister, and according to the Bible and some other ancient texts, you say, hey, look, we're not going to hit back. We're going to affect change. We're going to do so peacefully. So I think that's important to understand. The outside agitators, why is he talking about nonviolence? But ultimately, and we'll get into this again in the text, but it's a question of here and now. And that's what he starts off in the speech talking about. There was a group of 8 ministers, these 8 white ministers, who had put out, this is a rhetorical triangle brought to you by Aristotle. What up? So these 8 ministers had taken out this newspaper ad, basically saying, or maybe it was an editorial, it was in the newspaper saying, hey, look, you outside agitator, Martin Luther King, we're also Christian ministers, and you as a Christian minister need to chill out. Okay. Like, I guess what you're saying is important, but not quite now. Not yet. Martin Luther King's like, no. Check out this book, by the way. You should also read this book. It's brilliant. It's beautiful. One of the best I've read. Why We Can't Wait. Right? Let's get a little topic, what he's talking about here. So again, speaker and writer, please, that's painfully obvious. MLK, baby. Audience, reader. again, he writes to these 8 ministers, but by delivering the text to his lawyer to sneak out of jail and get published in the New York Times, I believe, he's talking to the whole country. Martin Luther King's pretty well known at this point. This is on nightly news. People are paying attention to it, and they know Birmingham is like a tough place to be, man. Tough place to be. So that's the topic. That's what he's writing about. We'll continue to explore. We'll continue to explore. We'll do the message now that we've done the context, and prepare for understanding and exploring this brilliant text, this brilliant thinker. Again, you have any questions, let me know. All right. Ándale pues, vaya con Dios. See you guys.